Well, you know, he's become a big deal when everything he says is picked apart. So is he or isn't he? The Associated Press sticking with its story that Senator Rand Paul planned to back a path to citizenship in his speech on immigration reform. The Kentucky Republican senator joining me now to set the record straight. Senator, welcome. Are you backing that plan?
Well, the interesting thing about citizenship is the only time I mentioned the word citizen in my 20-minute speech is when I said that I haven't always been a model citizen. When I was a kid, I was kind of a derelict and got in trouble in school and didn't go to my Spanish class. So I never mentioned citizenship other than that. But what I did say is that as Republicans, we need to embrace immigrants and appreciate them. And if you want to work and you're in America, we need to find a place for you. So that does imply, yes, I am for immigration reform. But my amendment to the bill will be something called Trust But Verify, which says that we have to secure the border and that we have to have a report that's voted on by Congress each year in order for immigration reform to go forward.
So how is that, or is it, different from Marco Rubio's plan?
Well, you know, it's going to include some of the same things that the bipartisan group has. So I'm not necessarily in disagreement with what they're doing. And in fact, I don't think they have a new pathway to citizenship. I think their bill, like my bill, would say that you don't have to go home. You don't have to leave. If you've been here for 10 years and you're working, you don't have to go back to Mexico, but you do have to get in line, the same line as someone in Mexico City. So if someone today in Mexico City wants to get in the line to come to our country to be a citizen, same thing for those who we're going to give work visas to who are already here. They have to get in that same line, not the front of the line, the same line that already exists. So it's kind of confusing when people get into, oh, this is amnesty, this is pathway to citizenship. What I'm saying is if you're willing to work and you don't want to come here for welfare, but you want to work, we're going to find a place for you in America.
Do you think under that type of a plan, though, Senator, those who want to enter this country illegally see there's no risk to doing so because, well, eventually, whether under Rand Paul or Marco Rubio, there actually might be an incentive down the road to getting on that line?
Well, the thing is what we're going to do, any of the reforms are going to say you have to have been here a certain period of time. Right. And they're also going to say that there's a window that closes. You don't have 10 years to decide that you want to get this work visa and be part of the program. I don't know what the window is going to be, 1 year, 2 years, but there's going to have to be a window for those to apply. If you're part of the 11 million who came here, many who did come legally, actually, to tell you the truth, they came here legally. They were working on our farms, but then they either overstayed their visa or chose not to be part of the work program. Part of the problem with getting rid of illegal immigration is fixing legal immigration. We had 65,000 people come to our country last year to pick crops, officially through the work visa program, but we had really over 1 million people came in to pick crops. So we don't have a system that works. We need to fix the system so we can have all legal immigration and have no illegal immigration.
Senator, I want to talk to you a little bit about something Harry Reid has said that has created some waves of the death of these soldiers in Nevada, that he appeared to be linking to sequestration cuts. He disavowed those remarks later on in a statement, but nevertheless, he did refer to their deaths and to sequestration in the same remarks. So Republicans who have been criticizing him say the argument still stands. It was an awful thing for him to say. Lanny Davis, of course, former Clinton advisor, saying that it was at best clumsily worded. What do you say?
Well, you know, I think the Democrats need to be very careful here because they've been trying to blame everything. They're going to be blaming the bubonic plague on the sequester pretty soon. But Senator Blunt had a good amendment today that we passed, and it said, oh, why don't we take some money from here where it's not necessary and put it into meatpacking inspectors so we inspect our meat. Because see what the Democrats are doing, they're saying, oh, with sequester, your meat's going to be dangerous. We're going back to the days before Upton Sinclair. And that kind of hysteria does no any good. If they're good leaders, if your country is good leaders, you find where money's being wasted and put it into essential things. Senator Moran tried to do the same thing. He tried to have an amendment to save air traffic controllers and towers in certain places in the country, and they wouldn't let him do it. It's almost as if they want the sequester to have pain and have visible pain, like not having a White House tour, but they don't want to do the important things your leaders would do, which is make sure your food is inspected and make sure that the air traffic controllers are there. So I think it's irresponsible on their part.
What do you think of the reaction you're getting in the party now and the straw poll victory you had at CPAC, that you're being much more scrutinized now, and that you've got to be careful now, and that the party stewards, who they are saying that maybe you're not as hawkish. Maybe when it comes to cutting budgets, you're more reckless. You want to have a plan, or you hope to introduce soon, to balance a budget, for example, in 5 years rather than 10 years, as Paul Ryan wants to do. That you Republicans should be a little bit cautious about you. What do you say?
It's hard for me to be anything except for who I am. I'm pretty much a forthright kind of guy. I see problems that our country faces, and I'm just going to keep putting forward solutions. You know, I've always said, look, I had a good job before I came here. I'm a physician. I like doing surgery. I like helping the people to see, and I'm happy to go back at any time. But I think also the country's looking for something different. They're not looking for your traditional sort of cookie cutter conservative. They're looking for somebody who can represent the whole country. And I think that the ideas that I'm talking about could help Republicans grow in areas like California, New England, Illinois, states that have given up on Republicans. So we do have to think about new ideas if we're going to be competitive as a national party.
You know, Senator, some of the friction, or whatever you want to call it, between you and Senator McCain, the senator tried to put to rest with me last week by apologizing to you and Senator Cruz for intemperate remarks. How are you getting along with Senator McCain? What do you think of him?
You know, I have a great deal of respect for Senator McCain. I have no problem. I mean, we disagree, obviously, on some things, but I do respect his war service and his many years as a POW. And he is a voice for people who believe in national security. But so do I. So I don't want to say that there can't be more than one way that we can defend our country, and that there's not room for some waste and some cutting and some military programs that aren't being used wisely. But that being said, Senator McCain has also said the same thing. He's been an opponent.
Have you talked to each other privately in that regard, one-on-one, or is this essentially speaking to the media?
We do. We ride in the same elevator. We ride up the escalator together. We are cordial. We are not going to get in any fisticuffs or anything. Senator McCain and I are fine, but we are going to disagree sometimes. Right. But I also don't think that the people, even sometimes Senator McCain, who thinks we're so different, I don't think we're always so different. He harkens back and says he admires Reagan. Well, guess what? So do I. We both have a slightly different twist on what we think Reagan represented, but Reagan represented a strong national defense, and I truly do believe in a strong national defense. On that, Senator McCain and I really should be in agreement.
We're just learning into the Senate, as you probably know, has passed this measure to keep the government funded through the end of September. But I just had Charlie Rangel here earlier at the broadcast, Senator, who was saying the fact that the president hasn't submitted a budget yet, that these things are notoriously late on all counts, well, they're not to be taken too seriously, because the bottom line is they're not really worth the paper they're printed on. I'm really paraphrasing here, but I do think that's the gist of what he said. I raised the issue with him then why bother if they're just a joke? He quibbled with that. What do you think?
You know, I would say that budgets are very important. In fact, we have a law that says that all of our appropriations bills are supposed to agree with our budget. It is a blueprint for how the country's supposed to operate. You don't find almost any business in America that doesn't have a budget. From a business that grosses $200,000 to $200 million, they have a budget and a plan for how they spend their money. They pay attention to their revenue. The difference is every business in America says that they cannot spend more than comes in. They have to pay interest if they borrowed money, but their balance sheet has to equal each year, and they can't do it for very long where it doesn't. Our country needs to be run more like a business, and that's our problem, is that it's not. And I think we're running the country into the ground by, borrowing $1 trillion every year, and it can't go on.
Are you running for president?
Let's say I want to be part of the national debate. Haven't made any decision on anything other than I will run for re-election in the U.S. Senate.
All right.
But I do want to be part of the national debate and growing the Republican Party so we can win again nationally.
Senator Rand Paul, it's always a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.